Hi, my name's Dr. Steve Simpson. My background is a medical doctor, but I now work as an elite performance coach, which means I work with people like you who are watching and listening, because we are all capable of raising our game to a very much higher level. There's only one thing that gets in the way of that: the usual suspect. Now, the topic today is confidence. Now, all my clients, I imagine, maybe there's a few exceptions, there always are, but I'd say the vast majority of my clients, somewhere along our journey, the subject of confidence comes up. And this is the start of the problem, but it's also the start of the solution. Now, the problem is that we all bandy these words around, but the truth is that the word confidence will mean different things to all of us. And this is not a plug for my latest book, The Psychotic Revolution, but my book is all about language and the knots that it gets us tied up in. So let's be literal for a moment, and rarely recommend it. But the word confidence, it comes from the Latin, and com means with, and fidelis, Latin, means faith or belief. So already we're getting into an approximation. This word is derived from the Latin, and the Latin's probably derived from the Arabic. And who knows how many times the meaning of this word has been twisted. That's the problem with language, the ambiguity. We only started talking about 30,000, 50,000 years ago. Before then, we'd managed for millions of years through evolution, managing to communicate, but it was non-verbal communication. But it seemed to get the message across to other animals and species, and we received those same messages back. So when you gain a new skill, you lose an old skill. And I think we've lost a lot of that non-verbal communication skills, which once we so heavily relied on. So ignoring the word, all of us will have a feeling about what it is to feel confident and what it's like to feel not confident. One will feel pleasant, the other one will be distinctly unpleasant. So if it's so important, what can we all do, not in a lifetime, but in the next few minutes, to start to build our confidence? At the risk of muddying the waters even further, there's really nothing you can do. Correction. I will tell you some things you can do, but they're sticking plasters, because the truth is that confidence is a natural quality. It's inherited, it's created inside us, but it doesn't go away. When we're born as a baby, we're confident, and we stay confident in our own skin until the age of 4, 5, 6, 7, when something gets in the way of our confidence. And it's usually other people telling us, you should do this, you can't do that. You're going to get into trouble if you do that. This is dangerous. Stop that. No wonder kids start to get confused, because before then, they weren't confused. They knew what they wanted to do, they knew when they wanted to do it, and they knew how they were going to do it. So this innate quality is still inside here. We've just lost it. It's been our connection to our confidence has been torn apart by other things. Tip number 1. It sounds simple. It is simple, but it's very tricky and challenging to stick to it. And this is what goes on in our head. It's the conversations in our head that we have with ourselves. In some people, these conversations are so vivid that it doesn't stay inside their head, it comes out of their mouth. And they catch themselves and they say, oh, did you hear that? I was talking to myself again. I'm always talking to myself. Oh. Well, that's not the problem. The problem is, what are people talking about in their head? What are they talking about in their head that destroys this connection to the innate quality of confidence? This voice in their head is almost always critical. It's delivered in a voice that actually is usually not that person's voice. The way they are hearing it internally is that it's a harsh voice, a critical voice, a pedantic voice, a literal voice. It might be a voice from the past. It might be a teacher, a parent. It might be a friend. Who would need friends like that? Because the best friend that we have is ourselves. So step one, which will more likely connect you to at least a little more of your innate confidence pretty much straight away, is this. Say this to yourself. This is positive self-talk, by the way. And on that subject, if we are going to have a voice in our head, then let's make it always positive. Like, this is something you can do. This is a tricky subject. This is a tricky problem you've got yourself into, but you've been in similar situations before. There's been no blood on the floor, and you're more than capable of dealing with this. Anyway, back to step one, the mantra. From this moment forward, I will never, ever say a bad word about myself ever again for the rest of my long life. You can make it a bit shorter if you want to, but I think you get the message. Now, the reason why this is important is because you're now going to start noticing when this voice pipes up unwelcome in your head, and you'll say to yourself, or you will think to yourself, I'm not going to go along with this. I don't need this negative talk. I'm going to think of something instead. What are you going to think about? Well, if you're the record 100-meter champion, sprint champion, like Usain Bolt, you're going to be thinking about what you're going to have to eat tonight, what kind of pizza you're going to have. That's a much better thought than what kind of mess you're going to make of this situation. I told you this would happen, but you insisted you were going to go do this. Now you're paying the price. Usain Bolt, I don't think he thinks like that. He thinks he's having fun. He knows he has to get out of the starting blocks fast. And actually, that's his weakness in his running, because sometimes he gets out too early and he's disqualified. So he doesn't want to think about that. That's why he thinks about pizza, because it takes his mind off things. So from this moment forward, don't ever say a bad word about yourself ever again. If you're going to say anything about yourself, make it big, bold, bright, confident, positive, and attach it to a nice feeling. How good does it feel? Some people say about confidence, they say, it's when I feel comfortable in my own skin. And that's not a bad way of looking at it. Okay, we can all smile a little bit now, because you've got a bit of tool. You've got a tool you can use. People like it when they can do something. There's nothing worse than feeling not confident, because that leads to anxiety. And funnily enough, here in the United Kingdom of Great Britain, this week it's Mental Health Awareness Week. Well, I think every week should be a Mental Health Awareness Week. I've been listening to stuff on the radio, and the rates of mental health disease, particularly amongst kids, are rising exponentially. They've never been worse, despite all of the money and the people that we put into it. So that tells me we're putting money and people into the wrong things. But maybe that's a subject for another day. Right now, the money is here. That's what's in front of us. This is the gift that's waiting for us, and it's not so far away, because, as I mentioned earlier, this gift is already inside us. How about another positive thing we can do? Well, we can fake it until we make it. That's what the models say. If we're really feeling squirmed up inside and scared about whatever it is we're going to do next, we can start to change our body posture a bit because we're a product of our own physiology. Now, how would a person lacking confidence look if he or she was sitting next to me here? They would betray themselves. Their body language would betray them, making themselves look as small as possible, tucking their head down, hoping that maybe nobody will see them. And if I'd got them wired up to some of my medical gadgets, I would know that they were breathing quite a bit faster than normal. They'd definitely be talking faster than normal. Their eyes and heads would be moving around. Their blood pressure would be going up. Heart rate would be going fast. Doesn't have to be like that. If that's a person who's lost their confidence, then what would a more confident pose be? The opposite. And perhaps the most important thing of all of those that I listed would be the breathing. People have studied breathing for centuries. What can be so difficult about breathing? We did it from the moment we were born. We carry on doing it until the moment is to go somewhere else and do something different. We don't need a book about breathing, but maybe we do. Or maybe we need somebody just to remind us that when you breathe slowly and deeply, a little more so than normal, it's very hard to be anxious. It's very hard for somebody to look at you and not think, well, that person is confident, even if that person is me right now, not necessarily feeling that confident. It makes you feel confident because the body knows how to deal with this stuff. It has all these millions of chemicals inside the body that it can manufacture in the moment. And those include the brain chemicals, things like the endorphins and the serotonins that make us feel good. And when we're breathing fast, it's very difficult to feel calm and confident and cool and collected. And this isn't the whole subject of confidence in one session, but it's probably second for second, minute for minute, the most packed with practical tips and things designed to make you think. Because perhaps I should have mentioned earlier in this little presentation that I'm a hypnotist. I've been trained to an advanced level. And I think we're all hypnotists. But I find that when I unconsciously use my hypnotic techniques, I feel better myself. Does something to brain waves. And it seems to make other people feel better as well. And I get told that all the time. And I'm happy when I hear that. If I can do a little bit, even with a stranger, to make them feel a little more relaxed and happy, to me, it's a good day's work. So here we are. Let's finish off with something else that can be pretty powerful for you. The problem with being confident and remaining confident is that we take it for granted. We forget some of the things that I've said. Next time you're worrying about something, a driving test or a difficult meeting with your boss, aren't they all difficult? You'll forget to breathe. It seems default. I've learned this the hard way. I went on a Wim Hof course when you take the ice bath. It was great fun. all of it apart from 2 minutes. 2 minutes in an ice bath can seem a very long time. And they had lots of us instructors who knew all about this, as well as Wim Hof himself, of course. And one of them looked across at me and said, breathe. And I immediately knew I'd actually stopped breathing because of the shock to my system. So we all forget. So please, please, if you can only remember one thing from this little session, please keep breathing a little slower and a little deeper than you normally would. Back to this other little thing I was going to mention. It's a good idea to remember the good. If you're going to think about anything from the past, there are quite a few reasons why you shouldn't, but there are some things in the past that are worth remembering. Remember the good things. Those are the memories that we want to keep close to us. Those are those warm feelings that we want to embrace. And remembering when things went well, maybe to just use the example I introduced a few seconds ago. Remember when you did have one of these interviews with your boss that you were dreading? And actually the whole thing went really well. And you came out feeling a bit stupid because you thought, oh, I've been worrying about this for 2 weeks. There's nothing to worry about. It was just chatting about my job, and I, got complimented with my results and all the rest of it. Remember that. Remember that while you're waiting outside for the call to come in and see the big boss. And while you're doing that, you see, every time you think of a good thing, whatever it might be, from the past, from the moment, find a way of, we call it anchoring. Find something to hook that feeling onto. And I've already mentioned body language, so body language is a good way to start. A lot of people, particularly if they're performers, they obviously have to do something subtle. You can't thump your heart 3 times to use that as an anchor. People will start worrying about you. People worry about other people too much. They should worry about themselves. But anyway, another subject for another day. When you're thinking of this good thing, how about this one? Tap, thumb and forefinger together. Nobody need know. Just do it once, subtly. You do it inside your jacket. Doesn't really matter how you do it. Nobody will notice, nobody will care. But that sends a signal to your brain, like, remember this one. This is important. And it will make you feel better. But the beauty of this one is how you can use it in the future. Because when you're sitting outside the boss's office, you can have your hand on your lap. Yeah, try smiling as well. That's a free tip. When you smile, your brain makes chemicals as well. So bing, bing. Be a bit more discreet than that. Otherwise, people really will worry about you with good reason. And if you're finding it hard to smile in a situation like that, and funnily enough, some people find it difficult to smile, probably because they haven't got into the practice of it. That'll work. Stick a pencil or a pen, make sure it's clean between your lips, and that stretches the same muscles. It's a lot easier just to smile naturally. So I think that's more than enough today. I'm just looking at the clock there. I did actually have one question come in from somebody, and actually maybe I'll just mention that now. I think it's worth mentioning because it ties some of these things together. A person sent me in an email, and he's a client that I've known on and off. We've never met him, but exchanged emails from time to time. And he said, have you got anything you can do to help me? He said, my daughter's getting married Saturday. And I'm really happy about it, of course. It's going to be, I've had to wait to get this date for quite a long time. But there's one thing that I'm not happy about, and actually I haven't been sleeping because I'm so scared. It's because I have to make a speech at the reception after the wedding, and I hate public speaking. At the best of times, I do anything to avoid it, and I can't get out of this one. My daughter won't let me. And worse than that, she wants everything to be so perfect on this her special day that I feel that puts an enormous amount of pressure on me. Well, I've heard similar kind of things from many different clients, and it's all about when they do something in public, like they're professional sports people, professional speakers, stand-up comics, or people who have to give a speech at a family occasion. And I said, in summary, the reason why you're feeling anxious about this and lacking confidence is because you're thinking about it the wrong way. You're thinking about it from your perspective. And that's why I like this background screensaver, by the way. I chose it at random, but when I look at it, I think there's a good reason for that, this screensaver, because it reminds me of how ridiculously small and unimportant we are in relation to the whole universe. The trouble is we take ourselves way too important. Now, this man, the father of the bride, he's a lovely man, but he's thinking about himself and about how he's going to feel, and he's generating all of these sort of scary hormones inside his body. So what should he be thinking about? He should be thinking about his daughter and the guests at the wedding, thinking not about, am I going to do a good job? Am I up to it? He hasn't got a choice. He's standing there. He's got to do something. And if he thinks in his head, what can I do right now in this moment to make my daughter feel good and to make all of the guests at this wedding and the staff who are here, what can I do or say to make them feel good? Well, this is an easy one because a million years of evolution have created reflexes that we know how to make other people happy. And you don't need to be a Martin Luther King or any of these other eloquent speakers who have magic in their words. You can just say, I want to say thank you all for coming today. And I want to thank my daughter, for being such a wonderful daughter and bringing me so much joy. Now, how hard is that? And then, you see, once you get the first words out, you lose thinking about yourself and you become relaxed by default. That's all you have to do. Just say the first few words and let the rest take care of itself. You don't need to have a script in your hand or in your pocket. Just speak from here. It's called the heart. When we follow our heart, we're rarely wrong. And of course, be aware of your posture, like I said. Make sure you breathe. And make sure you're coming from a giving place to help other people. And that is the magic ingredient. Well, I'm talking about the past now because this wedding has happened and the guy did write to me and he thanked me for my advice, not that he needed to, but he said the whole day had gone really well. And he said when it came to make his speech, he was a bit nervous. That's okay, we all are. But he said it went well. And more importantly, his daughter loved it. I suppose everybody was crying. That's called having a good time at a wedding, I suppose. Anyway, I hope we've had a good time today. So thanks for joining me. And let me know what you thought, what you'd like to see next time. And I hope to see you next time, either remotely or even better, in person. Goodbye for now, and have a great day.